Good evening, everybody. Dr. Tony McNeil here. Happy Wednesday. Happy hump day, friends. I am thrilled to be back with you with another Meet the Pastor interview for a part-time job position that I am serving as a consultant for, and want to allow this position to grow feet, if you will, and have some exposure through my various social media platforms. Many of you have probably seen this position advertised on my website, drtonymcneil.com/jobs, or you've seen it on my Facebook page and Instagram accounts, both my personal and the Call to Worship group accounts. And so we are here tonight to speak with another pastor about a different position in the Washington, D.C. area. Riverside Baptist Church in Washington, D.C., and excited about what is going on there with Riverside and Pastor Mia McClain. For those of you that are coming on now, thank you so much for joining. And if you want to share, tag folks in this interview, I invite you to do so. Say hello. Let me know where you're joining from. I'd love to know that you're out there watching. Come on in, tag some other folks. Say hello. Say hello. Who's joining us? I am so excited to have the chance to create these opportunities for you, not only to read job descriptions, but to hear about them. And especially to hear them from the senior pastor or a member of the search committee, to learn about these positions and to hear about the environment that these positions are situated in ways that you cannot necessarily discern from reading a job description. I think these kinds of interviews, these kinds of conversations can be helpful both for the candidate and for the church in making sure that the right candidate applies for the church and the church is very clear on its intent for the position that it has available. So we have about 10 folks that are watching now. Thank you for joining. Hello, Phyllis Caldwell, my dear friend from Charlotte, North Carolina. Thank you so much for joining. I am now going to bring to your front, as they say in the Black church, our guest for tonight, Reverend Mia McClain, who is the distinguished pastor of the Riverside Baptist Church, Washington, D.C. Thank you, Reverend Mia, for joining me tonight. How are you?
I am good, Dr. Tony. I'm doing well on this Wednesday, so I can't complain. How are you?
I am great. I am great. I know you had a Bible study or midweek service.
Oh, yeah, we did our Bible. We're doing a book study right now in the month of January.
Oh,
so
wow.
That was a really good conversation. So I'm feeling charged up and then ready to do this. So it's a good evening.
Okay. Wonderful. Well, let's get into it. The position that you have available is for a band / music, or as some people may call it, an MD position. It's a part-time position at your church. And before we get into learning more about the position, I think it's very important to lay a foundation about the church and what the church believes, the identity of the church, and its commitment to worship. So, can you tell us a little bit about who is Riverside?
Oh, yeah.
Who are the people of Riverside?
Oh, yeah, the people of Riverside. Riverside is a church that is 166 years old. It has had 3 different names and several locations. We got bounced around the southwest region of D.C. because when the government building started wanting to build things because of eminent domain, we were forced to move from some of our original locations. And so we ended up on the corner of 7th 7th and Main Avenue Southwest, and we changed the name to Riverside. This was, 70 years ago. But before then, we had some different names: Fifth Baptist Church, Island Baptist Church. So now our name is Riverside, and it's been that way for a while. We are a multicultural church. We are an ecumenical church, rooted in the Baptist tradition, affiliated with the Alliance of Baptists. Our statement is, our one law is love of God and love of neighbor. We want everybody to feel welcome and included. We are an open and affirming church. We do advocacy work around LGBTQIA and beyond justice initiatives. That is very important to this congregation that became one of the early Baptist churches that became open and affirming in the early 90s. So that is a huge part of our identity, but not the only part of our identity. And so we are Christ-centered and justice forward. If there's anything that you leave with, that's Christ-centered, justice forward. And we want everybody to feel like this is a place of refuge for them.
Wow. I love that. Christ-centered and justice forward. Wow.
Yes.
What a mission. Tell us a little bit about the worship life of Riverside and what its, I guess, mission or vision for worship, and especially yours as a pastor.
Yes. Well, I'm fairly new here, been here almost a year and a half. So first coming in, just sort of getting my bearings, figuring out what their natural inclinations were, their natural style was. We are a small but mighty congregation. Our choir, I was actually on Bible study earlier tonight with one of the choir members, and she said, the music ministry is what kept the group together, because the church experienced massive transition over the last 5 to 10 years. Not only did it tear its former building down and went through a rebuilding process, which means that it was out of its own building for 2.5 years. After it got in its building, the pastor who had been there for 28 years retired, and an interim came. And then after that, we all know what happened. The pandemic shut it down. So they, the music ministry really held a core group together, singing choir songs, we sing Stevie Wonder in worship. We sing Aretha Franklin in worship. We ain't scared. Okay, they experiment. I love that I did not have to bring them on that journey. They were already on this journey of saying, listen, the sacred is secular and the secular is sacred, and we are going to blur those lines and not make a distinction between them. So the worship life is vibrant at our church. I love that we sing hymns and we sing Stevie Wonder, because that's important to people. We are ecumenical. We have people who are former Catholics in our church, former Methodists. So for us to sing, our God, our help in ages past is just as important as singing total praise. And we do both of those. And we want to continue to have that kind of diversity. My vision for the future is to continue to deepen that diversity. Mm-hmm. But also to go even further. I'm an artist myself. I believe in the power of that God is still speaking. I'm ordained in the United Church of Christ. So our motto is God is still speaking. God is still speaking, and God is still speaking to us and through us. And we are still writing new hymns. We are still writing music. We are still figuring out what the sacred is in 2024. And so my vision for this church, because we are so artistic, is to expand what we are already doing, to include original music and more so in worship. We've done a few things here and there to empower people to say, you have the power to write a hymn. You can write a refrain. It don't take much. What is the refrain of Riverside? My goal for 2024 is to figure out what the refrain of Riverside is.
Every church has its song. Every church has a refrain. And to hear you speak so passionately about embarking upon a journey to find out what that refrain is for your church is exciting. I love the energy of you saying that the sacred is secular and the secular is sacred, and seeing all good music as a possibility for worship, all good and ethical music that is appropriate for worship as a possibility. I think that's a very holistic and healthy way of approaching worship. So thank you for offering that. Tell us a little bit about the accomplishments of your music ministry, and especially, and also I want to hear about some of the challenges,
Sure, sure.
especially as it relates to COVID.
Oh,
But what are some of the more recent accomplishments or things that you as a pastor have been most proud of as it relates to your worship ministry?
yes. Well, we have a wonderful music director now. We recently promoted her from choir director to music director. I understand the language that we're playing with some language here, but
Mm,
she has been responsible for all of the song selection, finding soloists. She is a great soloist herself, a jazz soloist. She directs the choir. And so, really, a great accomplishment of this year has been empowering her.
yes.
Once I said, I give you permission, I give you authority, because I think people were a little scared. Maybe I'm not sure what the culture was completely in the past, but I know that they might not have felt as free to choose certain things and to run with certain ideas and visions. I said, I want to empower you. And I did. And she gave us a phenomenal Christmas concert. We do a Christmas concert, usually the third Sunday in December.
Mhm.
And the jump we made from the concert I sat in last year to the concert we experienced this year was significant. And that just takes greater a deepening and an empowering of the people who are already there. Because she has a vision as well, and I think she just needed to be empowered. And so I'm grateful for that. We got some new members in that. We call it our little choir ensemble. They may be 8 or 9 people, but they are mighty. So I'm grateful that we get focused on numbers a lot, and I think that there are challenges connected to maybe not having as many numbers, but I also see this as a gift, because that community is building a tighter bond. Now that we are kind of in a rhythm, I've been here now, so they have a settled pastor. They have a pastor who is also, I sing with them sometimes. So I'm trying to build community around music. I want people to come to rehearsal because they get to
Mhm.
be in community and fellowship. Yes, we're learning music. Yes, we are preparing our hearts and minds and our voices to sing and to lead the people in worship on Sunday. But also we are coming to do life together for those 2 hours or 1.5 hours on Thursday. So I view that as an accomplishment. We got a few new members, a few new voices this year.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. I so love your willingness to free people into their gifting. Uh, and not all church leaders are skilled to do that. And that you don't mind allowing folks to operate in the gifts that God has given them, and you're not intimidated by it. So kudos to you. So thank you, thank you, thank you for that. I do want to acknowledge that this position as part-time band slash music director works alongside and
Mm-hmm.
works in community with the current music director
Yeah.
that Pastor Mia just acknowledged, who is a phenomenal choral director and jazz singer as well. And Pastor Mia, can you talk a little bit more? I know in some of our earlier conversations, you talked about um, a, a vision for seeing this position and actually the entire worship ministry at your church as an extension to the broader community,
Mm-hmm.
and the kinds of collaborations and partnerships that you'd like to see established
Yes.
through this position, through the worship ministry, through this person that that may come in, and the possibilities of that.
Yeah. Yeah. So this position, we need somebody who plays the piano. So that's number one, right? That we need a keyboardist, pianist. If you play an organ, that's an extra bonus, because we have an organ that we don't really use. But I would love to partner with somebody who has a creative outlet that their footprint extends beyond the church. As I consider myself multivocational. Yes,
Mm,
I am a full-time senior pastor. Most of my hours in life go toward Riverside Baptist Church and some of the other ministerial things that I do in the community. But I'm also an artist. I'm also a songwriter. And so my hope is that people can live into all the various parts of themselves. We are rarely just one thing. And to start to collaborate with folks who also might need a space for their concert. If you are a brilliant pianist and you already got your own thing going on, but you want to partner with us to make this new thing happen in this season, but you also want to explore Riverside as a place where maybe you can offer a piano lesson twice a week here, or maybe you want to have a jazz concert here. We want to be a resource for whoever this person is, but also for the community. We are currently partnering with a nonprofit called DC Strings. They're going to do a concert here on February 17th at the church. And they try to bring concerts to communities that don't get classical music and jazz music. So we're going to have an ensemble and a jazz band do that for that night. And then we're partnering with the National Symphony from the Kennedy Center.
Wow.
They are bringing their musicians to Riverside in March on a Tuesday to do a free concert, because we feel that people should not have to leave Southwest and go all the way to the Kennedy Center and pay Kennedy Center prices to get that kind of experience. We want to bring that to Southwest. So we are already beginning partnerships. And so my hope is that whoever comes to us through this search process will be interested in that partnership journey we're on, and maybe grow to be a partner with us in that way as well, in some capacity.
Wow. You guys are hearing it straight from the pastor's mouth. And for a lot of musicians who seek part-time work in this capacity, like you said, they're doing other things with other community groups or groups that they themselves start, and oftentimes are in need of rehearsal space, performance space. And what I hear you say is you are open to the possibility of making available the resources and the facilities at Riverside for this candidate who could possibly fill this position. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
So thank you for expanding on that. For those of you that may be joining or just late, or just hopping on, I am Dr. Tony McNeil, worship arts educator and consultant, and I'm here tonight with a client friend and someone that I have admired and followed, and it's a joy to be working with her and her church as they are seeking to find or to hire a new part-time band / music director, an MD that's part-time that can work alongside their choir director, music director, who's already in place, and also work with Pastor Mia in planning and leading and reflecting on corporate worship for the Riverside Baptist Church in DC. So Pastor Mia, what is it like working at Riverside? What is it like working with you?
I hope that it's good. Listen, I know that I have standards. So I try to communicate that my goal is not perfection, it is excellence. So are we showing up as our most excellent self in whatever moment that we are in? And are we showing up being honest about our capacity? So those are the two things that people are going to hear me say a lot. My board of deacons hears me say it. My trustees hear me say it. Are we operating in our capacity? And are we able to acknowledge when we don't have the capacity for something? And so I've been kind of harping on that all 2023 into 2024. That's what it's pretty much like working with me. I believe in flexibility. I have one of the people that works at the church had to take some time off for medical leave, and they were concerned about like if I was gonna let them go. I was like, I care first and foremost about your health and your well-being. So if you are having any kind of challenge or difficulty, I want to know what that is. If you feel comfortable sharing it, but I just want you to know that is the number one thing. A job's come and go, but your spirit and your soul and your mind and your body, I want to know if you are okay, right? Are you eating? Are you sleeping? Because, we've come through this pandemic, and anybody who is sort of leading any sort of institution right now in a authoritative way that is draining people of their energy, that's not going to fly too much. I mean, at least my generation, we will resign in a hot second. So I want it to be a space where people can feel comfortable to express when they are out of capacity, at capacity, they need some time. But also a space where we operate in excellence. So the balance of that.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for being so sensitive to self-care and like you said, capacity, because sometimes we can measure our success in ministry by the busyness, the amount of busyness that we can manage. And to hear you talk about rest and repair and reflection, that is good to hear. And many times we don't talk about that until something falls apart.
Yeah, and I think our musicians need it. There's now this growing movement where pastors are finally accepting that sabbatical is a good thing for them to ask their congregations for. Yes. And I think that that's wonderful. We need pastors to take breaks. And I told my music director right now, the choir leader and music director, I said, I want you to plan out your breaks for the year. Right? Because you can't do 52 Sundays either. So let's be, plan ahead, plan out your breaks for the year, hire your replacements in advance, right? Because, we all have to bounce out on vacation or go to a wedding or whatever. Hire these people in advance, have that set so you could take some time off.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much for bringing clarity to that. Because sometimes these things don't get discussed until it's way too late. So I am very, 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 very grateful for you sharing that. What is it that you're and I know we've already alluded to the fact that you're looking for someone who is obviously gifted in piano and preferably organ as well. And when you say organ, you mean Hammond organ, pipe organ, or both?
So it's not a pipe organ anymore. People come to the sanctuary, they see the pipes. Those are the old pipes. It's I forget the brand, but it is not a pipe organ. So that's how much, as much as I know. But it really has not been touched since before the pandemic. And when they came back into the building, they just never sort of found an organist to play it. So even if that's not your gifting, but you would help us be able to identify a seasonal organist, Easter, some of the bigger high holy days. We don't need it every Sunday. We're not that church, and we are a very diverse, flexible church. So some Sunday the organs are not appropriate, but we would like to have it on occasion is really what I would say. Yeah.
Are there other musicians that you have on staff, like a drummer, bass player?
We have a drummer who's been with the church for maybe almost 10 years now. He also has a full-time job on Capitol Hill, but he's our drummer on Sundays and he loves it. So he has his own band, his own jazz band. So again, we empower him. I've told him before, you ever want to bring your band over here, Jazzy Blue, we ready for you, to come and brighten up this space. We have a bass player, electric bass player, who is a church member who volunteers his time. So we've been working with like a 3-piece most Sundays for special occasions, like for Christmas, we usually hire a synthesizer. We hired a saxophonist this year. So we will add in things here or there, just for some special needs we want to have, right? And we also have, I bought a few percussion pieces. I think I bought a djembe. So, I love experimenting with things. We've had African drummers before. We've hired West African drummers for Juneteenth. So even if, your gifting is not a thing, we would want to still on some special Sundays have that diverse music come in to fill us out and offer us something new.
Great. Another question for you. And I think a lot of churches are defined by what they sing. And one of the things that I'm interested in is I engage with churches as a consultant. What theologies are you singing in your hymns and in your gospel and in other music that you are incorporating in worship? So my question for you are, what are the songs that Riverside loves to sing? What are the hymns that are beloved to your congregation? Or what are the gospel songs that when your congregation sings them or when your choir sings them, it makes your church come alive?
Hmm.
Y-
Okay, so the choir loves total praise. The congregation loves total praise.
Gotcha.
They just, I mean, everybody loves total praise, but
Yeah.
they love total praise. They lately they've been really jiving to a few new Kirk Franklin stuff.
Okay.
The choir they come alive when they sing. What's that song? He saved the day, he will come through. Da, 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 da. It's a very like
Yeah.
jazzy, Kirk Franklin did his thing on that.
Yep. Yep.
So they've been coming alive with stuff like that. But they also love this song called Breath of Heaven. Amy Grant has a rendition, but it's a choral version. So they still are singing sheet music, choral songs, because they really love that. And that was the tradition of the church. So Breath of Heaven, what other choral songs? More classical leaning choral songs they do. We do such a mixture. We've been leaning into a few CCM ish things that the theology is in alignment. I will say that
Okay.
if the
Okay.
theology is in
Gotcha.
alignment, we will lean into that. Some things that are easy to teach the congregation for like the post sermon song, the song of consecration. We're shifting away from super wordy stuff there to stuff that is more reflective. But they're not ashamed of a 4-verse hymn. Okay,
Okay.
they will do it, and they will gladly do it. And so we're not one thing or the next, But I like to have diversity because I know that I have a diverse congregation that likes different things. So, what is the song that they loved? It's a hymn. I can't remember right now, but I try to make sure every once in a while I slide in that hymn because my church administrator really enjoys it.
I got you. I got you. Well,
Yeah.
thank you for all that you've shared thus far. I want to open the floor for any of the folks who are still with us. I know folks have been coming on and popping off. If anybody has any questions or any thing that you'd like to ask Reverend Mia while she's here with us relative to the job or to the church, I want to recognize the presence of Dr. Emery Andrews, who is a well-known retired music educator and church musician in the Baltimore, D.C. area. He is on tonight. He is connected to a lot of church musicians in the area. So, Dr. Andrews, tag some folks in this interview and in the job posting so we can find the right person for this congregation. And also, I see Philip Carter, who is also another DC based church musician and um, person that is connected in the church music, sacred music community in DC. Philip is doing a tremendous amount of heavy lifting and important work online through his Hymns with Philip Carter
Mm.
ministry on Facebook and YouTube. And just had a citywide celebration of music music ministers and worship leaders in the DC Baltimore area that I think they meet quarterly to honor a select group of church musicians and worship leaders and clergy. And he's just doing a great work. And I'm happy to see him on. I see my brother DK Hammonds, Phyllis, my dear cousin Carla Jackson, who resides in Richmond, Virginia. Thank you for joining, Carla. Are there any questions about the position? Oh, Dr. Andrews is asking, where is Riverside?
It's in Southwest DC at the wharf. So if you've been to the wharf recently, the DC waterfront has been completely rebuilt in the past 10 years. So it might not look like what you remember, but there's a lot of restaurants now and hotels and things. So it's on Main Avenue and 7th Street, the corner of Main and 7th. So we're right on the corner. We face out to Main Avenue. We face the Potomac River. You can see the Potomac River from our front door.
Awesome. Awesome. Are there any other questions? Again, you can find this position posted on my Facebook page and my Instagram accounts. and as well as on my website, drtonymcneil.com/jobs. It can be found there. Uh, my friend Phyllis Cardwell says, Pastor Mia, is the whole congregation readily involved in singing during worship?
Yeah, actually, if you go to our website, there's a phrase that they use a lot that the choir is just the leaders, but it's really a congregational church. They want the congregation to sing along. This is why we print the lyrics for people who don't know. So the idea is that y'all are singing with us. Now, sometimes the choir sings something that people don't know for the pre-sermon song, but the idea is that for the majority of the songs that we sing, they are supposed to be congregational, things that people can learn and sing along to and be familiar enough with and enjoy. It's not a performance. We're not putting on a performance.
Awesome. Dr. Andrews has another question. He says, what time are your services?
10 a.m. on Sundays. We run about 75 minutes.
Good. And does the choir sings every Sunday?
No, so we try to do twice a month with the choir. They rehearse generally every Thursday unless we give them a Thursday off. But on those Sundays with the choir's not singing, sometimes a trio will sing. Sometimes we will do a soloist. So we do different things on different Sundays. Usually first and third, the choir sing. But if it's a special Sunday like Easter, that's not first or third, obviously, they'll sing. But we don't want to burn people out. They are a small group. And so we want them to also feel like they can show up and participate in the congregational singing.
Excellent. 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 Folks, thank you so much for being with us tonight. And thank you, Pastor Mia. I am excited about your excitement for this position and the clarity and vision in which you have brought this time of sharing tonight, brought into this time of sharing is greatly appreciated. And I think it will assist in getting the word out and helping folks understand the nature of worship and its vision at your congregation at Riverside Baptist Church, DC, on Main Avenue.
Yes.
On the wharf.
Like the state Maine.
Maine. Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. We are going to hop on Instagram and chat with the folks over there in a couple of minutes. But I want to say thank you for those of you that have joined us live. And for those of you that will catch this in the playback, thank you for watching. And again, if you think of anybody or know of anyone that will be a good fit for this position, tag them on this post or send this post to them as a DM and point them to drtonymcneil.com/jobs or to my Facebook page or to the church's website for more information about the job and so that they can learn more about the church as well. Thank you, everybody, for joining this edition of Meet the Pastor. And we will see you again soon. All right. Thank you. Any parting words, Pastor Mia?
No, just I hope to hear from some folks, and feel free to reach out to me directly if you have questions.
Wonderful. Good night, everybody. Thanks for joining.